Hello and welcome to this yoga practice where we have about 25 minutes to stretch out, open our hips a little bit, and I am going to ask you to come into child's pose to start. So you might notice I'm doing something slightly different where I'm recording my voice over the movement, and bear with me in case it doesn't go very well, but I think it's worth trying. So bringing your head down onto the floor when you're ready, maybe into your hands or anything else that feels comfortable, and your knees can be together or a little apart or pretty wide apart. There's so many options here, and today maybe trying to tune into what feels good for you and not perhaps what you think you should be doing. Seeing if you can start to deepen the breath, so you're gently encouraging a little more space, maybe in the belly, in the chest, on the inhale, and the back muscles relaxing on the exhale. Taking your fingers away when you're ready, maybe coming up onto your fingertips if that feels good, and start to ripple with your breath. So as you inhale, coming up and rolling up a little bit through the spine, and exhaling to melt back down and to soften. And so you can find this ebb and flow, this pretty organic movement, and maybe even start to walk your hands over to one side and keep that movement going. So getting that little lift and fall, that ebb and flow. When we're thinking of our hips, we're maybe connecting with the water element and thinking about fluidity. So keeping our breath moving, keeping our sort of ripple of movement can be a really nice way to explore that, and taking your time to do both sides. So you might walk through the middle and walk your hands off to the other side, and again keep your breath moving your torso, possibly lifting your head. And don't worry too much if you need to rest your head down or if it's not quite the same rhythm as me. It's just a guide. And when you're ready, coming up through the midline and pressing your hands nice and flat into the earth, and start to rock yourself maybe side to side and coming up to your knees. So tabletop, but let it be loose. Let your head relax. Might feel a little bit like an elephant if you sway side to side. You might rock back towards your heels and roll forwards. You could tuck the toes under if that feels more comfortable to you. And just see if you can let it go a little bit. And to really warm up the wrists, taking the weight more into the left hand and start to move your right hand around. So you could take it quite far backwards and forwards, maybe even in a semicircular movement. You might take some rotational movements through the shoulder, lift the arm up to the sky, whatever feels nice. And don't over-pressurize your left wrist. Gently spreading out the thumb from the rest of the hand, putting weight in the thumb side of the hand will help you have a safe alignment. And coming through the midline, you might just have a moment there to feel the earth beneath you. I'm going to take it around to the other side. So again, let it be how you feel rather than it needing to look like anything in particular. It doesn't have to be the same as the other side. And that permission just to let yourself move as you are, I think that can be really needed when too often we're thinking, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough? And then coming through the midline, see if you can rock backwards and forwards a little bit and tucking your toes under. So when we move into downward dog, just take a few rocks first. So you almost build up that momentum to lift the knees off the floor. And you might need to walk the feet backwards a little bit. Forget about heels down to the floor. It's all about nice long spine, and emphasize your shoulders coming up to your ears. You might bend the knees or pedal out the knees, shaking out the head, and it can be nice to inhale through the nose and just let it out through your mouth. Coming to a lizard pose now with our right leg. So when you take your right foot outside the right wrist, we're trying to keep the hands shoulder width apart. So you have this spacious openness on the chest, and then bring the right forearm on the right thigh. Make sure the back toes are not sort of coming in, they're directly behind the knee. And as you lift up, turn your body to the long side of the mat. Seeing if you could really take your time here to explore the movement, maybe with the arm rotating around. And it might feel a little bit like a warrior two in your legs. Your right hip will be really opening, but that back foot is not pushing away. So you get this strong opening on your inner right thigh. And then bringing your left hand down, take your right hand up. You might move that around and you get the closed position. So not letting that right knee flop out, just keeping the foot flat and appreciating these different ranges of movement in our hips. Bringing the hand down inside that right foot. See if you can take your time to move the right knee outside the right wrist, so into pigeon pose. And this bit is a bit tricky. Not maybe our most graceful moment, but it's actually really important for our mobility to practice these little transitions. Pull the right hip backwards, the left hip forwards. If you're shifting the foot forwards, don't twist the knee. It has to come from the hip. Lifting up with the breath, and then carry on that rippling movement. Find that ebb and flow. So you might roll up and rock down on the fingertips or on the palms of the hands. Even a very subtle, tiny movement. Doesn't have to be big. The next time you lift up, softening the weight over to the right side of the body, so gently rolling over onto the right hip, draw the left knee in a little bit, so a bit like a stag position we might call it. If it's comfortable, you can lift your arms up and you might hold opposite elbows or fingers and find a little movement here if you can, maybe left and right. And this is all about our hips being in different positions. So here we've got the right hip open, the left hip closed, external and internal rotation, and see how it feels. Gently moving to the long edge of the mat, finding the weight in the hands, rocking yourself, maybe from side to side to find it. Again, one of those transitions we might overlook or think is clumsy, but is worth incorporating into our practice. Maybe you're a bit more static here, a bit more traditional, it's up to you. But inhale to lengthen. And exhale to let go. Seeing if you can allow your feet to slightly push out a little bit more, so parallel legs. And then we're going to take all of that on the other side of the body. So we spiral to what would be the back of your mat. You can point the right toes or you could tuck them under. Make sure the hands shoulder width apart so the foot is outside the left hand. And then you're going left forearm on the thigh, right arm moving around, your chest moving around to the long edge of the mat, and really opening that inner left thigh, but keeping the right hip hugging forwards. Start maybe to rotate the arm around and getting your breath, lifting the spine up towards the sky. So if you're holding your breath to hold the balance, because it's pretty tricky balance, then make sure that you're relaxing enough to hold the tension in your hips. Moving the right hand down, left arm might rotate or it could rest. Completely up to you, but feel the closed position on the hip here. When you're ready, bringing the left hand inside that left foot and replacing the foot with the knee. So the left foot will have to come across the front of the right leg, going for pigeon pose. So pigeon, really pulling the left hip back, pulling the right hip forward so the hip points face forwards. And then you might start to do that ebb and flow of movement with your breath, expanding the range of movement. And being incremental about it, so not seesawing up and down, but going gradually one stage to another, finding the height on the way up. Rock over very gently onto your left glute. Bring the left foot forwards if you need to, if you can. Right knee can come in or push away. And we've got this external on the left, internal on the right. If you lift your body up and lift the arms off, if that feels okay, you can rotate around and explore that just a little bit more. And that might feel pretty strange, it might feel quite nice. Don't have an expectation here, so long as it's not painful. And then we're migrating our way to the long edge of the mat. And this time, allowing the toes to turn out. See if you can wriggle your heels away from each other so that they're underneath the knees, so not too close. It's not a prayer squat. And then we're bringing the right forearm down, left arm goes over, and seeing if you could find a place for that left arm to relax. So you might want to lift up, you might want to flop the arm over your head, and don't let that knee collapse in, both knees moving away from each other, rolling over to the left side, left forearm down, right arm over, and it's that right knee that you want to keep pushing away, not letting it come in or twist in the knee or the ankle. And then coming down, maybe you sway a little bit, but less intensity, taking it towards the floor, and then start to inch it in. So we are coming to that prayer squat, and your heels might be off the floor, that'd be normal. If you can get your heels down, you've got very long Achilles tendons, and that's fine too. See if you could push down through the elbows as well as out, and lift up the crown of the head as you inhale. And don't slouch as you exhale, so see if you can keep your body nice and upright here. And again, thinking about transitions being important to notice in our practice. Start to move the arms behind you to support you to sit down into Sukhasana, our easy seat. Inhaling the arms out to shoulder height. Good, palms facing down, lengthen. Exhale, twist the body over towards the right and bend at the elbow like you are resting your arms on an armchair. Good, inhale through the middle. Exhale, moving the body towards the left, and see if this movement can come from the middle of your chest. So not forcing it with the arms, then inhale, taking it out through the sides. Exhale, round your spine, pick up the knees from the outside, change the cross of the legs, and use your breath to inhale, lift up to a straight spine. This time, normal cactus, elbows under the hands, inhale. Exhale, twist from the middle of your chest to the right. So see if you can think of this movement coming from your spinal column. Inhale through the middle. Arms don't really do anything. Exhale, you go over to the left. It'll be on the diagonal. Inhale through the middle. Exhale, carve the spine into a C shape. Pick up the knees and then see if you can rest for a moment over your legs. You might hold one hand on the other and relax. Deepening your breath to start to lift your body upright, lift the spine up and drop the knees out. And we're coming to take the right leg out, left heel inside the groin, right toes up to the sky. Don't have to have a straight leg. And as you inhale, take the arms out, shoulder height, palms up. Exhale, draw the right elbow inside the right leg or the back of the right hand down and left arm over. Think about one line from your hand to hand, not reaching over towards the foot and certainly not slouching. Maybe you relax the arm, you might find that fluidic kind of movement. You could rest right ear towards the right shoulder, relax the jaw. And then this movement, I love it. Take the left arm away at shoulder height and start to push it away, just like you were nudging a little wave down the arm. And you might feel a particular nerve, radial glide, we might call this for our radial nerve, as you push it away. And then take it away so much that it lifts your body upright. And then take the right arm up to the sky, inhaling. Exhale very gently, take that right hand over towards the left knee and find a soft twist. So when we're doing this sort of side bending, we want to keep this openness on our chest, not collapsing down towards the floor. It's really important to remember. Coming up through the middle, draw the knees in, have a little move around through your shoulders and switching to the other side. So your left leg goes out. And you could always have a bend in the knee, especially if you're struggling to stay upright. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, bring that left forearm down or the back of the hand down and think one line from hand to hand, not reaching for the foot necessarily. And you could relax the ear towards the shoulder, find some softness. You might even encourage that bottom chest to spin through. And then we're going to find that radial glide. So you're pushing away through the right hand and really trying to articulate right the way down to the wrist and the palm. And you might feel a particular sensation Might border on pain, just be careful with that one. But it might be a good release. And then you might be able to push away so much that you could lift yourself all the way up through the midline. It's one to explore, I think. And then lifting up your left arm, inhale. Exhale, take it over to the right knee and turn your heart around. You might be able to reach all the way to the foot or the hip crease with that back hand, but don't feel like you have to. Good, coming through the middle, inhaling, taking the foot in and bringing both legs nice and wide. So you might again have that bent leg idea. You might prefer butterfly legs here. So if you find a wide-legged straddle a bit much, bring your feet together. You can point the toes, you could flex the toes, give you different feelings on the sides of the legs. And as you inhale, lengthen. Exhale, remember this is tipping forwards from your pelvis. So no rounding of the spine like this. See if you could really keep your heart moving forwards. Maybe you come onto your elbows. Bring your head into your hands for support, or you could come all the way down onto the floor, whatever feels nice for you, but make sure that your spine is really nice and long and that you're not pushing at the edge of your breath in terms of intensity. It doesn't need to be painful, it's just more of a gesture here, symmetrical after those asymmetrical versions, one side and the other. You might play around with it a little bit, finding a little rotational movement in your chest. Anything that you like, really. Sometimes we need a bit of softness and stillness, other times a little positive distraction, keeping ourselves moving. Maybe we can let go. Starting to bring yourself upright, so really support yourself as you need to. Gathering our legs in, and we're going to turn around to face the front of our mat, so we have some space behind us. And lift your body upright, separate the knees and turn the feet out. So maybe heels just on the very edge of the mat, a bit like a W or an M shape. And then start to roll backwards using the support of your hands on your shins. And inhale to lift yourself upright, nice and tall. Exhale, rolling back. Maybe holding the backs of the legs. And inhale, lifting up, thinking about bringing your chest between the thighs. And then as you roll back last time, you might be able to pick up behind the knees, bring the back of the head all the way down. So it's really important your whole spine is down here. For happy baby, you might find that you can hold the feet very easily without the shoulders coming off, without the head coming off, and without your pelvis coming off. Yeah. So keeping the back of your pelvis down to start. And then happy baby, of course, is moving. So let it move, rock around a bit. Might be symmetrical, it might be asymmetrical. So you might take one leg out a little bit more than the other. See how that feels for you. And be curious, just be a little playful without being too effortful. You might notice the freedom in your hips after doing some of these movements, even for a short while. Or maybe you're noticing the tightness and easing it out with a little movement and breath, which is what we've been doing really. Gathering the knees in, take your right arm out to the side and dropping your knees over towards the left. Try and keep the right shoulder down, so don't have expectations of the knees reaching the floor or anything. It's more important that the upper back is down on the mat, and the twist then will go down more into your lower spine. It's where it's probably needed. And then I want you to roll over with your right arm all the way onto the side of the body. And then come back through the midline. So nice little transition out. Find the midline, maybe a little movement there, and then left arm out, heavy left shoulder. Feet down first can help to bring the knees down softly, and make sure that left shoulder stays down on the floor. You might deepen the breath here to feel the release, especially maybe on the exhales here. And the torsion on the inhales that will stretch out your muscle fibers. It's the benefit of twisting. And seeing if you can take that left arm and rolling it all the way over to come onto the right side of the body into this little fetal position, almost like a child's pose, I suppose. And then taking your legs away so that you can roll all the way onto your back, and we come to our final relaxation. So it might be after all that hip work that you want to have your feet in butterflies and let the knees flop out, feet together. You might be fully extended in traditional Shavasana, or have the knees coming in to touch with the feet flat to rest your lower back. You might need that containment and to not be open with your hips here. Seeing if you could find a way to tune in to your breath, and by being attuned to this movement that's always there, allow anything else that's not this breath, this movement, this moment to drift away just for a short while. And wherever you might have landed with this practice, however relaxed or soft or heavy you might feel, or completely otherwise, or something in between, that's not the point. It's the practice to be willing to notice what's there when you stop. Not for it to be any particular state, right away at least. See if you could start to gently deepen your breath. So encourage a little bit more. See if you can start. See if you can start to gently encourage your breath to grow a little bit. See if you can gently encourage your breath to grow a little larger. So as you inhale, you might feel the chest expanding. You might even bring your hands to touch your breath and breathe into your hands. You might bring back a little movement, fingers, toes, or other parts of the body. I'd encourage you to move your hips a little bit. So maybe bringing the feet in and rocking your knees a little like a windscreen wiper, or hugging them in and taking a few rotational movements, having paid attention to this part of the body today. Gather just enough energy to roll over to one side, doesn't matter which, and let yourself be in this supported fetal position, and then gently taking your time to come up. So I like to slide my top leg away, push down to support myself to come up, and crossing the legs to Sukhasana, our easy seat, rocking side to side to make sure we have that evenness, that balance. And to finish our short practice today, it's bringing the palms to face up and resting one hand in the other, like you're cupping some water. Remember this watery element we talked about, or like your pelvic bowl. And as you inhale, just lifting it up a little bit, like you're lifting that water up or offering it up. And as you exhale, let it come down, separating the hands, maybe even flickering the fingers like water. Inhale, cupping it up, lifting it up. Exhale, bring it down. Good. And inhale, lift it up, bring the hands to prayer. And exhale, bowing forwards, putting down our practice there. And hopefully feeling a little more mobile in the hips, if anything, maybe a little better, a little more relaxed or more fluid to carry on your day. Thank you.